My friend, your future is not written in the stars. It's written in your mind. If you change your thoughts, you change the direction of your life. Most people are not defeated by their circumstances. They are defeated by their thinking. You see, the battlefield is not around you. It's within you. It's in the quiet moments when no one is watching, when your mind is feeding on what you allow in. Every limitation in your life began as a thought you agreed with. Every victory started as a thought you refused to surrender. So today, I want to challenge you to transform your mind. Because when your mind changes, your future has no choice but to follow. Your mind is the steering wheel of your destiny. The direction of your life is not determined by where you are right now, but by what dominates your thoughts every single day. You don't move toward what you wish for, you move toward what you consistently think about. If your thoughts are full of fear, insecurity, and limitation, then even with talent, even with opportunity, you will sabotage your own progress. But if your thoughts are filled with possibility, confidence, and faith in your own potential, you will rise above circumstances that once buried you. Every great change in life begins with a thought. Every invention, every dream, every revolution started in the invisible realm of someone's imagination. The mind is where your future is first built before it ever shows up in your hands. When you realize that your thoughts are not random, they are creative forces, you will stop allowing just anything to live rent-free in your head. You will start protecting your mental space like a vault, because that is where your destiny is stored. Look at your daily routine. When you wake up in the morning, what do you feed your mind first? If the first thing you do is scroll through negativity, comparison, or fear, then you have already surrendered your day before it even begins. You cannot start your day feeding on doubt and expect to end it in confidence. The mind cannot produce what it has not been planted with. The harvest of your life always matches the seeds of your thoughts. Most people are waiting for life to change before they change how they think. But the truth is, life doesn't change until your thinking does. A person with a poor mindset can be given $1 million and still end up broke again because their thinking is still small. Another person can start with nothing but a strong, renewed mind and end up building an empire. The difference is not luck, it's mindset. Think about driving a car. If you turn the steering wheel slightly to the right, the car doesn't move instantly. It takes a few moments, but eventually it follows the direction of the wheel. That's how life works. When you start shifting your thoughts in a new direction, your circumstances may not change overnight, but your destiny begins to turn. Slowly, surely, consistently, your life will follow the direction of your mind. When you complain about where you are, you reinforce it. When you speak about where you want to go, you begin to attract it. Your words are born from your thoughts, and your words become the construction crew of your future. That's why you must discipline your inner conversation. Don't say, I can't. Say, I'm learning how. Don't say, this is impossible. Say, I'm preparing for the breakthrough. Small adjustments in your language can open big doors in your life. You see, the mind doesn't care whether what you tell it is true or false. It simply believes and builds around it. If you keep saying, I'm not good enough, your mind will find evidence to prove it. If you keep saying, I'm capable and worthy, your mind will find reasons to confirm it. It's not magic, it's mental alignment. You are always moving in the direction of your dominant thoughts, whether forward or backward. I've met people who had every opportunity handed to them, yet they failed miserably because they couldn't believe they deserved success. And I've seen others rise from nothing. No connections, no resources, simply because they refused to think small. They trained their minds to see possibilities where others saw obstacles. That's the power of a transformed mind. Imagine a person working in an environment where everyone complains, blames, and accepts mediocrity. If they adopt that thinking, their potential will shrink to fit that environment. But if they keep their mind focused on growth, excellence, and purpose, eventually they will rise out of that environment, not because life handed them something new, but because their mindset demanded it. You will always outgrow your environment once your mind outgrows it. When you start thinking differently, people will notice. Say, you've changed. Yes, you've changed direction. You've taken back the wheel. You've stopped letting fear drive your decisions. You've stopped letting insecurity choose your relationships. You've stopped letting the past decide your future. You've chosen to steer toward a new horizon. In daily life, we often underestimate how much power we give away just by thinking the wrong way. For example, if someone criticizes you and you spend the entire day replaying it in your head, you've just handed them the steering wheel of your emotions. But if you take that same energy and say, I'll use this as fuel to improve, you've taken control back. The mind is always either mastering or being mastered. It never stays neutral. The truth is, you can't control every situation, but you can control your interpretation of it. Two people can face the same problem, and one will say, this is the end, while the other says, this is the beginning of something new. The situation didn't change, their thinking did. And that change of thought created two completely different destinies. If you can master your thoughts, you can master your life, because the mind creates patterns and patterns create destiny. Every habit you have, good or bad, started as a single thought you repeated until it became automatic. So if you want to create a new destiny, you must install new mental software. You do that by feeding your mind with ideas that lift you higher than your environment. That's why your mind must be trained, not entertained. Many people spend more time entertaining their mind than educating it. They feed it with endless noise, gossip, and distractions, yet expect wisdom to grow. But wisdom doesn't grow in noise. It grows in reflection. It grows when you take time to sit with your thoughts, challenge them, and replace what limits you with what frees you. When you begin to take control of your thinking, something shifts in your spirit. Confidence rises. Clarity returns. You start to see opportunities where before you saw problems. You stop waiting for motivation to find you because you realize you've been the motivator all along. The power was never in the world outside of you. It was always in the world within you. Your future is not waiting for luck. It's waiting for your decision. And that decision begins with your thoughts. Your environment is the loudest reflection of what you believe about yourself. You can tell a person's inner world just by observing what surrounds them. If the room is full of chaos, if their relationships are toxic, if their circle is negative, it is not because life chose them for pain. It's because their inner belief has silently attracted what they tolerate. You do not attract what you desire, you attract what you believe you deserve. Every detail in your life is a mirror of your mindset. When you shift your belief system, everything around you begins to rearrange itself to match that new vibration of thought. Many people are trying to change their environment while keeping the same inner picture of themselves. They clean the house, but not their head. They switch jobs, but carry the same insecurity into the new one. They change relationships, but bring the same fear of rejection into the next connection. And then they wonder why nothing changes. Because if you don't change your inner atmosphere, your outer atmosphere will always repeat itself. You can move to a new city, but you'll still live in the same mental neighborhood if your thinking doesn't evolve. A person who secretly believes they're unworthy of success will subconsciously sabotage every opportunity. They'll procrastinate, overthink, or shrink back when doors open. It's not that the world is against them, it's that their belief system has set a limit. Your mind creates invisible ceilings. You don't see them, but you feel them every time you try to rise higher. That's why belief is not a luxury. It's a foundation. You cannot lie beyond the boundaries of your belief. If you believe you are limited, your environment will faithfully obey that belief. If you believe you are limitless, your environment will expand to fit that new truth. Think about a plant. If you take a seed meant to grow into a mighty tree and plant it in a small pot, its growth will stop at the edge of the container. It's not that the seed was weak, it's that the environment couldn't handle its potential. The same is true for you. Some of you are planted in environments too small for your vision. You've surrounded yourself with people who speak small, think small, dream small, and you wonder why your big dreams feel uncomfortable. You are not crazy. You've just outgrown the pot. The environment is too tight for your future. If you ever want to see what someone believes about themselves, look at what they allow around them. Look at the conversations they engage in, the shows they watch, the friends they keep. Your environment is a constant reflection of your standards. If you raise your standard, you automatically raise your environment. If you keep tolerating mediocrity, your environment will never challenge you to grow. People who are serious about transformation stop negotiating with what drains them. They disconnect from environments that feed their weaknesses and seek out spaces that awaken their greatness. Every successful person you admire has gone through an environment shift. They had to leave the crowd that was comfortable with average. They had to silence voices that made them doubt. They had to say, I love you, but I can't stay here. Growth always requires departure. You cannot walk into your future while holding on to everything from your past. When you truly believe you are called to more, the wrong environments become unbearable. You stop fitting in where you used to belong because your inner world is evolving faster than your surroundings. There's a moment when your belief becomes so strong that your environment has no choice but to adjust. You start to speak differently. You stop participating in gossip. You spend more time learning, thinking, creating, and less time complaining. You start organizing your space because clutter no longer matches your clarity. You start valuing your time because distraction no longer feels satisfying. And slowly, your world begins to transform to match your new mental frequency. People call it luck. It's not luck, it's alignment. The inside finally matches the outside. Take a simple example. Two people working in the same office, doing the same job, earning the same salary. One sees limitation and complains every day. The other sees opportunity and uses the same environment to build new skills, make connections, and grow. Eventually, the second person rises, gets promoted, or moves into better opportunities. Why? The environment was identical, but the interpretation was different. The first person's belief said, this is all there is. The second person's belief said, this is just the beginning. That difference in belief created two completely different futures. When you change what's inside, you stop waiting for the environment to give you permission to grow. You stop saying, if only I had better opportunities, and you start creating them. The moment you believe that you are worthy of better, your actions begin to prove it. You begin to show up differently, think differently, speak differently. And the world responds differently because your environment is a living echo of your identity. It's constantly mirroring what you think of yourself. If you change your self-image, you change what that mirror reflects. Sometimes you have to do a mental inventory. Ask yourself, does this environment feed my potential or my fears? Are these conversations expanding me or limiting me? Are these habits helping me build the future I see in my mind? When your belief grows, you become intolerant of anything that wastes your energy. You begin to seek environments that challenge you to rise. You start surrounding yourself with people who speak the language of vision, not gossip, of growth, not comfort. That's when your life begins to elevate. Your mind sets the thermostat of your life. The temperature of your belief determines the climate of your environment. If your belief is cold, everything around you will freeze. Your motivation, your progress, your creativity. But when your belief heats up with passion, purpose, and possibility, the whole atmosphere begins to shift. The air feels different. Opportunities find you. New doors open, not because the world changed, but because you did. Your environment has to reflect the temperature of your belief. Nothing in life changes until you do. You can't decorate an old mindset with new goals. You can't redesign your house and keep the same broken foundation. The foundation must be rebuilt. The same is true for your belief system. You must decide what you will no longer tolerate, what you will no longer allow to shape you, and what kind of environment matches the person you are becoming. When you believe that you were created for more, your mind begins to build an environment that supports that vision, an environment of order, peace, growth, and excellence. And once that shift happens inside, the outside world always follows. Transformation is not a moment, it is a process that demands repetition. You do not change your life because you heard something powerful one time. You change because you repeated that truth until it became part of your identity. The mind is like a muscle. It doesn't grow from hearing once, it grows from consistent exercise. Every thought you rehearse builds a pattern, and every pattern becomes a program. You can't install a new belief overnight. You have to reprogram your mind through repetition until what used to feel impossible starts to feel natural. Many people hear a great message, feel inspired for a few days, and then slip back into old habits because they never made repetition their friend. The mind loves familiarity, and if you don't feed it new thoughts consistently, it will return to what's comfortable, even if what's comfortable is destroying you. You can't live a victorious life with a defeated mindset that you keep feeding every morning. You must decide to renew your mind daily to drown out old lies with new truth until your thinking catches up with your potential. Think about learning to drive a car. The first time you got behind the wheel, you were nervous. You had to think about every little movement, checking mirrors, turning signals, braking gently. But after doing it again and again, your mind built a new program. Now you can drive, hold a conversation, and adjust the radio at the same time without thinking. That is the power of repetition. The same principle applies to personal transformation. At first, positive thinking feels forced. Speaking life over yourself feels awkward. Forgiving people feels impossible. But keep repeating it, keep practicing it, and one day it becomes your default reaction. Repetition is how the mind learns to believe. You don't just tell yourself you're confident once, you tell yourself every day until your spirit stands tall. You don't just affirm your purpose when things are good, you remind yourself in the storm that you were born for more. That's how you rewire your subconscious to align with your destiny. The greatest people in history did not become disciplined by accident. They practiced their beliefs until their habits aligned with their values. They rehearsed success in their minds until their behavior could no longer contradict it. Every day, your mind is being trained, either by intention or by default. If you don't consciously repeat empowering thoughts, the world will repeat discouraging ones for you. The news, social media, and conversations around you are constantly trying to write the script of your mind. You must take the pen back. You must choose what plays on the screen of your imagination. Because whatever you play long enough becomes your reality. If you wake up and say, I'm tired, I'm broke, I'm stuck, you are programming your mind to stay that way. But if you wake up and say, I am growing, I am grateful, I am capable, I'm ready, your mind begins to look for evidence to support that belief. Your outer world starts following your inner language. Repetition builds familiarity, and familiarity builds faith. That's why the most powerful tool for change is consistency. Take an example from athletes. They don't practice once and expect mastery. They repeat the same move thousands of times until their body knows it better than their mind. They understand that excellence is not born, it's built. You can't expect your life to elevate when you only repeat your goals once in a while. You must train your thoughts like an athlete trains their muscles. When doubt shows up, repetition must speak louder. When fear whispers, Your new belief must answer with confidence that's been rehearsed through daily practice. It's like watering a seed. You don't plant it once and walk away. You water it again and again. Even when you see nothing breaking through the soil, you trust that beneath the surface, something is forming. Your mind works the same way. Every time you speak a new thought, read something empowering, or take a positive step, you are watering your transformation. Even when it doesn't look like change is happening, growth is taking root beneath the surface of your consciousness. Repetition builds resilience. The more you repeat the right thoughts, the stronger they become, and the weaker your old beliefs get. The problem is not that people lack motivation, it's that they lack consistency. You can't feed your mind junk all week and expect clarity on Monday morning. You can't listen to negativity every day and expect peace at night. Transformation requires discipline, the daily renewal of your thinking. Every great musician practices scales until their fingers move without hesitation. Every great speaker rehearses their words until their voice carries power. Every great leader reviews their vision until it burns in their spirit. Why should your mind be any different? You can't renew it occasionally. You must renew it habitually. You must tell yourself who you are until your mind stops arguing. You must visualize your success until your fear becomes silent. You must practice peace until anxiety has no room to stay. People often say, I tried thinking positive, but it didn't work. That's because they tried it for a day and went back to old patterns. The old pattern has been rehearsed for years. You must out-rehearse it. If you've spent 10 years repeating thoughts of fear, it will take time and persistence to replace them with thoughts of courage. But once the new belief takes root, it becomes unstoppable. The brain rewires itself to support your new direction. There's a power that comes when you decide that repetition is not boring, it's sacred. Every time you affirm your worth, every time you practice gratitude, every time you think differently than yesterday, you are chiseling a new version of yourself. The greatest change happens quietly in the small daily repetitions that no one sees. When others give up, you keep going. When others lose focus, you keep practicing. Because you know that transformation isn't about one big moment, it's about thousands of small repetitions that build momentum. And soon, what used to feel impossible becomes instinct. What used to feel heavy becomes natural. What used to intimidate you becomes familiar. Because through repetition, you have renewed your mind. You have trained your thoughts to serve your destiny instead of sabotage it. And once your mind learns a new pattern, your entire life follows that rhythm automatically. Your mind is a garden, and every thought you entertain is a seed. The condition of your life right now is not the result of luck or chance. It's the harvest of what you've been planting in the soil of your mind. The mind doesn't choose what grows. It simply nurtures whatever you allow to stay. If you plant weeds, weeds will take over. If you plant flowers, beauty will bloom. Most people don't realize that their thoughts are alive, that they carry the power to reproduce, multiply, and manifest. Every thought you repeat is a seed that roots deeper. If you keep watering fear, it will grow tall enough to block your vision. But if you water courage and gratitude every day, they will form the roots of peace, abundance, and clarity. The greatest battles you will ever fight will not be against other people, but against the weeds in your own garden. The negative thoughts, the self-doubt, the constant comparison, these are not just emotions, they are seeds fighting for space. And the more attention you give them, the faster they grow. You can't stop a bird from flying over your head, but you can stop it from building a nest there. Likewise, you can't always control every thought that enters your mind, but you can decide which one gets to stay. The moment you choose which thoughts to keep, you take control of your garden. Think about how a gardener works. Before they plant anything, they prepare the soil. They remove stones, pull out weeds, and make sure the ground is healthy. Then they plant carefully, water regularly, and protect the garden from pests. That's how your mind should be treated. Every morning when you wake up, you are walking into your mental garden. The first thoughts that meet you will determine how your day unfolds. If you start with negativity, your day will feel heavy. If you start with gratitude and intention, your day will feel fruitful. You cannot plant frustration in the morning and expect joy by evening. You cannot plant worry every night and expect peace to grow while you sleep. Many people treat their minds like abandoned land. They let anything grow. Gossip, jealousy, anxiety, fear, toxic opinions, all these are weeds and they choke the life out of your potential. And the scary thing is weeds don't need permission to grow. They grow naturally when you neglect your garden. It takes no effort for negativity to take root. It only takes neglect. But greatness, peace, and purpose require cultivation. You must be deliberate about what you plant and what you protect. Imagine someone planting two gardens side by side. One waters their plants daily, trims the weeds, and makes sure the soil gets enough sunlight. The other ignores the garden, leaves it dry, and lets weeds spread. A few weeks later, one garden is full of life and color while the other looks barren. That's not luck, it's discipline. The mind works the same way. You can't expect a fruitful life when you only think healthy thoughts once a week. You must water your mind daily with what uplifts, strengthens, and empowers you. The most dangerous weeds in your mind are the small ones you ignore. That tiny voice that says you're not good enough. The subtle jealousy when someone else succeeds. The quiet fear that says, maybe I should settle. Those thoughts may seem harmless at first, but if you don't pull them out early, they will grow deep roots and become harder to remove. Guard your mind before it becomes overgrown with doubt. Protect your peace before negativity becomes your identity. A disciplined gardener doesn't wait for weeds to take over before acting. They inspect their garden daily. They notice the smallest sprout of something harmful and remove it immediately. That's what mental discipline looks like. Checking your thoughts, questioning them, replacing lies with truth. When your mind begins to say, I can't, replace it with, I will learn. When it whispers, it's too late, replace it with, my time is coming. When it tells you, you're not enough, replace it with, I am becoming everything I was meant to be. Each time you replace a weed with a seed of power, your garden grows stronger. Your mind will grow whatever you feed it. If you feed it with worry, you will live in fear. If you feed it with hope, you will live in peace. If you feed it with failure, you will feel defeated before you even begin. If you feed it with purpose, you will wake up with energy, become the gardener of your future by deciding what to feed your thoughts today. In daily life, you see this principle everywhere. A student who keeps telling themselves, I'm bad at math, eventually stops trying, not because they lack ability, but because the weed of doubt choked their confidence. But the student who says, I can improve, starts studying differently, stays consistent, and ends up succeeding. Same classroom, same subject, different gardens. Or take a business owner. If they constantly focus on fear of failure, every decision becomes hesitant, every idea feels risky. But if they focus on innovation, growth, and service, they attract people and opportunities that align with that mindset. Their business flourishes not because the economy changed, but because their mental garden became fertile ground for success. When you start protecting what you plant, you'll notice how powerful small changes can be. Reading a few pages of an inspiring book, listening to empowering messages, spending time with people who think higher. These are seeds. And over time, they create a mental environment where peace grows naturally. You stop reacting emotionally to every situation. You stop letting fear dictate your choices. You start to notice opportunities where before you only saw obstacles. Because a healthy garden doesn't need to be forced. It produces automatically. Every person has two choices. They can either let their garden grow wild or cultivate it with intention. You cannot blame the weeds for growing if you never took the time to plant something better. And the truth is, whatever you tolerate will dominate. If you tolerate negativity, it will spread. If you tolerate procrastination, it will multiply. But if you choose to plant discipline, gratitude, and hope, your mind will start producing abundance on its own. Your environment, your relationships, and even your emotions will begin to reflect what's growing inside you. Because your mind is not just a garden, it's the soil of your destiny. The flowers that bloom in your life tomorrow are being planted in your thoughts today. And the gardener in you decides what the future will look like every time you choose which thoughts to water and which to pull out. The greatest transformation you will ever experience begins in the invisible world of your mind. Nothing outside of you has the authority to stop the power that is within you once your thinking changes. The moment you decide that your life will no longer be governed by fear, doubt, or limitation, something begins to shift in the atmosphere around you. Doors that were once closed start to open. Paths that were hidden begin to reveal themselves. Opportunities that seemed impossible begin to find their way towards you. Because the universe always responds to a renewed mind. Every day that you wake up, you are given two options: to repeat your past or to reprogram your future. One choice keeps you where you are. The other pulls you toward who you were always meant to be. The mind is the gateway to destiny. You cannot live a victorious life with defeated thoughts. You cannot walk into greatness while entertaining small thinking. You cannot become extraordinary while clinging to ordinary habits. You must rise in your thinking before you rise in your living. When you change your thoughts, your world begins to rearrange itself to match your new frequency. You start attracting people who align with your vision. You start feeling peace in situations that used to make you anxious. You start walking differently, speaking differently, believing differently, because you finally understand that your life is not happening to you, it's happening from you. The energy you carry, the words you speak, the thoughts you think, they all create ripples that shape your reality. That's why the most powerful thing you can ever do is take command of your mind. You've been given something greater than money, greater than status, greater than connections, the power to think differently. And that power can turn pain into purpose, weakness into wisdom, and trials into triumph. You can change jobs and still feel empty. You can change cities and still feel lost. But when you change your mind, everything else follows. Because the true battlefield of success is not around you, it's within you. Think about it. No one succeeds accidentally. Champions are not born with crowns. They are forged through the discipline of thought. They wake up every day speaking life into their dreams, feeding their faith, and silencing their fears. They understand that success is not a gift, it's a mindset. You must think like the person you want to become long before you ever become them. You must believe in the vision before you ever see the manifestation. That's the secret of transformation, faith in your potential before the evidence appears. There will be days when your mind will fight you, when old thoughts will try to drag you back to old versions of yourself. That's when you remind yourself that repetition is your weapon. You have to keep speaking the truth until your mind submits to it. You have to keep showing up for yourself even when no one is watching. You have to keep watering the garden of your mind until it becomes a field of strength, clarity, and vision. Don't give your energy to doubt. It never built anything. Don't waste your power on fear. It never created anything beautiful. Instead, feed the thoughts that empower you. Water the ideas that stretch you. Protect the mindset that aligns with your purpose. You are one thought away from a different life, one decision away from a different story, one belief away from a different future. That's how powerful the mind is. You can lose everything and still rise again if your mind is right. Because as long as your mind is strong, your future is secure. They can take your money, your position, your comfort, but they can't take your mindset. A renewed mind is unstoppable, unbreakable, and undefeatable. The moment you decide to think higher, the chains of limitation will fall off. You'll stop chasing validation and start building vision. You'll stop waiting for miracles and start becoming one. Because the greatest miracle in life is not changing your surroundings. It's changing your awareness. You are the architect of your destiny, the author of your story, the designer of your tomorrow. Every great life begins with a renewed mind that dared to think differently from the crowd. So rise. Rise in your thoughts, rise in your vision, rise in your belief. The world is waiting for the version of you that thinks beyond fear, beyond doubt, beyond limitation. Don't just exist, expand. Don't just dream, decide. Don't just hope, transform. Because when your mind shifts, your destiny will chase you. You will stop following opportunities and start creating them. You will stop surviving and start thriving. And when people look at you and ask, what changed? You'll simply smile and say, my mind did. Because once the mind transforms, the future has no choice but to follow.